What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Y'all are blowing up the channel lately, and I truly appreciate that support. We're gonna keep that grind going and consistency up with another build for y'all. This time we're gonna go back to Void 3.0, but using a new exotic from this season in Titan arms called the Second Chance. These exotic arms give us 2 throwing shields when we use that as our melee, so we're out there looking like the Void Captain America. Plus those shields, when we throw them, have anti-barrier stunning capabilities, so we built this guy out to be the ultimate shield breaker for PvE. We were running through a master this week right here for the Nightfall. Super easy with this loadout, just tweak a few things depending on what kind of champs we got. So right here, we're going to go over our Sentinel subclass. So we're going to be using the good old Ward of Dawn for protection, plus that Weapons of Dawn, and it pairs with one of our aspects. For me, always go with Towering Paragate in PvE. Maybe if you're using Loreley, you can get away with this, but definitely Towering. I use Strafe Lift all the time, and then right here, make sure to throw on Shield Throw, so we can pair that with our Second Chance exotic arms. Now for me, I think the 2 best ones you can go with are Void Wall and then Vortex Grenade right here for that burn, and it helps with some of our aspects that we have going on, and Fragments. Moving on to our aspects here, we have Offensive Bulwark. So while you have an Overshield or Inside Ward of Dawn, which is why we're running Bubble, your grenades charge significantly faster, and we have increased range and melee damage too. This melee final blows extend the duration of our Overshield. So with having 2 of those throws, we're able to create that nice Overshield, generate some grenade energy for us, as well as increase that Overshield time with the final blows just from throwing our shield around. Plus they're gonna stun anti-barrier champions, and it is very effective in my personal opinion. As our second aspect, we're going to use Controlled Demolitionist, so we can get more of that Overshield, healing us and creating volatility. So hitting a target with a Void ability, so our grenade and our double throwing shield, or Volatile Explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to the volatile target causes them to explode, and this grants you and your nearby allies health. So this is super nice for keeping everybody alive in that end game content, and we're getting this procced via both our grenade and, like I said, our double shield here. Now for Fragments, we got 4 of them that kind of just pair well with how we're building this loadout to break all the shields and then replenish our shield throw. So first off, we're going to have Void Grenades weaken targets. Now this is just so when we go into that Master, Grandmaster content, even raids, you have the potential to weaken those targets and do more damage with the weapons we will be using, as well as our other abilities. For our second fragment here, we have Echo of Leeching. So melee final blows start health regeneration for us and our allies. This is just another way to get with that double shield throw. We can get health regeneration back super nice and keep us alive even better. Third, we have Echo of Provision. So damaging targets with grenade grants us melee energy. So this is nice when we're getting that grenade a little bit faster based on Offensive Bulwark. We're going to also in turn get both of our shield throws back a little bit faster because of this fragment here. And last but not least, when we defeat enemies with those grenades, our weapons that are void have volatile rounds on it. So that is nice for when we're going through. I like to use the Funnel Web, the Unforgiven SMG. Both of those are super nice for our overload champions. And then I've been running the Ashira's Embrace from Trials as my scout rifle to stun those shields for unstoppables, as well as just pairing right here with Echo of Instability. Now, as a little caveat, instead of running Offensive Bulwark, you can switch that up and throw back on Bastion so we can get our Overshield when we throw down our barricade, and that would get rid of echo instability, which is totally okay for us right here, which is why these are the three most important in undermining, leeching, and provision. But I personally like running it with offensive bulwark for that extra damage and a grenade refund with shield throws. Now for our weapons that we're going to be pairing with that for some nice DPS, and once again we're going to be able to break any shields that you can think of, including all of our champions and all 4 of our arc, solar, void, and stasis burns because of this puppy right here, the Chain of Command. So first off though, we're going to go over our kinetic, the Wither Horde. It is a endgame gun right here for PvE, super good at ad management, and when you get it to actually stick on an enemy, it has that tick damage, and very, very good for DPS, taking it in as you can see in that gameplay, wiping through master nightfalls super quickly. Now right here is one of the things that we can change up a little bit. I was using the Aishira's Embrace, like I said, for pairing that with unstoppable champions, or you can throw on Funnel Web Unforgiven SMG for those overload champions. So we're going to be using our shield throw to break our anti-barrier. We're going to throw on an SMG to break our overload champions, and then a scout rifle to be breaking our unstoppable champions, which is super, super nice. We can go all 3 of those with just the change of 1 weapon, as well as 1 single cost of mod on our arms. Now, one of the most important parts about this build is the Chain of Command, specifically with that adaptive mutations perk on it. So when we're using this weapon, it adapts to the damage output and effectiveness against energy shields that do not match this weapon's type. So this is super nice, going through a lot of these master nightfalls, everything like that, master lost sectors. You can use this to break shields for void, arc, and solar, even though that this is a stasis burn, and it is super, super effective in my opinion. It doesn't take too many extra shots than the actual burn would be, like solar on solar, when you're using this adaptive mutations on this gun. It is super adaptive, and then that adrenaline junks heat gives us a little extra damage on the weapon when we get final blows with our grenade or the weapon. So this thing is super, super key for this shield breaker loadout, making sure we keep all of those different elemental burns at bay. And then when we need to do our champions, like I said, we have our throw to get those anti-barriers, our scout to get our unstoppables, and then our SMGs to get our overload. This thing is perfect for anything you have to go into, plus it looks very gnarly as we built it out. Now moving on to our armor pieces and our mods that complement the build here. First off, on our helmet, we're going to have Harmonic Siphon and Grenade Launchers Finder for that Wither Horde, and then Harmonic Siphon is rapidly defeating enemies with a damage massing your subclass type will create orbs of power. So that is why we're using a Void Scout Rifle and a Void SMG for those other champions. So when we get defeats on those miners, we can create orbs of power, which is in turn going to give us our super back and be able to pop bubble a little bit faster. Plus we have another mod that plays into that later on. Now right here for our exotic gauntlets, we have our second chance, which just came out this season with the armor perk called Mirrodin's Reach. So you gain a second shield throw charge, like I was saying, and it becomes piercing and stuns those barrier champions. Super nice. Plus with those aspects and fragments, it spreads that volatility around very, very well. Now for our mods on this bad boy, we're going to have momentum transfer. So once again, when we cause damage with our grenades, with that vortex that I love, we're going to get reduced melee cooldown, giving us our shield throws back even faster once again. Now this is going to be our mod that we switch out between our unstoppable scout right here and then our overload rounds for our auto rifle and SMG. So you can also use both of these, but definitely just switch between those because it just pairs perfect with that solo energy cost. Now for our fourth one, I put Reactive Pulse on here, so we gain a powerful overshield when performing finishers. That doesn't really matter. More importantly, we're talking about when we're charged with light. when you take damage while surrounded by combatants, which is a lot of the time in that end game activities, you emit a burst of damaging arc damage, which consumes 1 stack of that light. So it's nice to get those enemies away from you, and it's just a nice little reactive thing that we have for this build with those orbs of power. Now right here on our chest piece, we're gonna have solar and void resistance to be even more tanky inside of this build, with machine gun reserves to pair with that chain of command. And then once again, we're going with the shield break charge. So by breaking a combatant shield with matching energy type gives us charge with light, which is perfect for using that void right here in Asira's brace. And then also it does proc when we're using that adaptive mutations, so we're able to become charged with light and then have that reactive pulse proc pretty commonly within these activities. Now on our legs here, we're going to be using Machine Gun Scav for the ammo for Chain of Command again, and then Orbs of Restoration, so it grants us a small amount of energy ability with the least amount of energy, so that'll just help us again get back our shield, as well as our grenade and our barricade, so that is created via our harmonic siphon up here on our helmet. And finally, for our class item, very important for this build here, we're going to have dual outreach, so it reduces our melee cooldown when using our class ability. And with 100 resilience, we're going to have our class ability very, very quickly. And then also we're going to be using radiant light, so we can get that extra melee stat on this with plus 20, as well as casting our super is going to make other people charged with light. So it's a very, very, very good support build just in general. Right here you can see behind me that it is clearing out a Master Nightfall, no problem, going through, dealing with all the different shields that we have, dealing with the damage with Wither Horde, as well as taking out all of those rank and files with a mixture of Wither Horde, our shield throws, and our Ashira's Embrace Scout Rifle. It is super nice to have that shield throw actually break an anti-barrier. And like I said, it helps us spread that volatility with our aspects and fragments on. And then we're able to just stack everything and have that synergetic of using our grenade to get back our melee faster, as well as our barricade. And then when we throw that out, we're just distributing that volatility, which heals everybody inside of it and near it, including us and our allies. So it's just a super good way to stay alive and be able to break any shield that we come up against, including champions, and then just that ability to break all of our elemental shields with Chain of Command. Survivability of a Titan, absolutely crazy. Still love Void 3.0, and these arms are super, super fun to use in some of this endgame content for Titans. So hopefully you guys like this build. I know the Bonk Titan is super meta right now, but definitely suggest giving this boy a try. It is way worth it, and it is super, super fun to take into endgame content. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.